The Galactic Union was a powerful organization that governed thousands of worlds across the universe. It was made up of many different species, each with its own unique abilities and qualities. For centuries, the Union had kept track of the most important species in the galaxy, studying them carefully. They wanted to know everything about each species, how they lived, how they thought, and how they could fit into the grand plan of the galaxy. The Union had a very special project that had been in the works for years. It was called the Galactic Matchmaking Initiative. The goal of this project was simple: to find the perfect match for the Jala, a race of beings that was known to be the most powerful and influential in the galaxy. The Jala were ancient and wise, but they had one problem: they couldn't find a partner who was their equal. They needed someone who could stand beside them, someone who could challenge them, someone who could understand their needs. So, the Union created a vast database that included information about 10,000 species. From across the galaxy, the data was collected from countless planets and star systems. The Union's researchers had studied every detail of these species, their physical traits, their intelligence, their emotional depth, and their ability to adapt to new environments. They hoped to find a species that was worthy of standing with the Joler. As the researchers sifted through the data, they began to notice something strange. Most species didn't come close to meeting the high standards set by the Jala. Some were too weak, others were too aggressive, and many lacked the necessary intelligence or adaptability. For years, the search seemed hopeless. The researchers began to worry that they might never find the perfect match for the Zoller. But then, something unexpected happened. When the data on the humans of Earth was analyzed, the results were shocking. At first, the researchers thought it was a mistake. Earth was a relatively unknown planet, and humans were a young species. They had only recently started to explore space, and they had a long history of war, conflict, and struggle. In many ways, humans seemed far from perfect. But when the researchers dug deeper, they found something surprising. The human race, despite its many flaws, had qualities that no other species had. Humans were incredibly resilient. They could adapt to almost any environment, survive extreme conditions, and bounce back from even the hardest of challenges. Humans had a unique ability to learn from their mistakes and grow stronger because of them. They were also deeply emotional beings, capable of both great love and great anger. But their emotions didn't weaken them. They gave them strength. The researchers were amazed. How could a species with so many problems be so perfect for the Joler? They couldn't understand it, but the data was clear. Of all the species they had studied, only humans had the qualities that the Joler needed. Humans were the perfect match. The news spread quickly through the Galactic Union. Many species were skeptical, unsure of what to make of the results. The Joler themselves were particularly doubtful. They'd heard of humans, but they had never taken them seriously. They had seen humans as a primitive, chaotic race, hardly the kind of species that could stand beside them as equals. Still, the Jala were curious. If the data was right, then perhaps the humans were worth investigating. They decided to send an expedition to Earth to meet with humans in person and see if they could really be the perfect match. The leader of the Zoller, a wise and ancient being named VYX, chose a group of their best diplomats and scientists for the mission. They traveled to Earth, arriving in a sleek silver ship that hovered silently above the planet. The humans below looked up in wonder, not knowing what to expect, as the Joler made their way to Earth's surface. They were met with a mixture of curiosity and fear. The humans had never seen such advanced beings before, and many wondered what their intentions were. Were they here to help or to conquer? YX and the others were met by human representatives, leaders from around the world. Humans were cautious, but they greeted the visitors with respect. There was a sense of uncertainty in the air, but also a feeling of excitement. The humans knew that this could be a momentous occasion, something that could change their future forever. V spoke first, his voice smooth and commanding. We have come to Earth because of the results of the galactic census. The data suggests that humans are the perfect match for our kind. We wish to learn more about you, to understand your strengths and weaknesses, and to see if you truly possess what we seek. The human leaders were taken aback. Perfect match. It seemed too good to be true. The idea that humans, flawed and divided as they were, could be the perfect partners for such an ancient and powerful race was hard to believe. But V was serious. We have studied 10,000 species, and only your kind has what we need. We do not understand it, but we must know more. The humans were left in shock. What did this mean for their future? Could they truly be the key to solving the problems of the galaxy?
Ow.
Or was this just another challenge, one that would lead to disaster? The Jalars' visit marked the beginning of a journey that would change the course of human history. What followed would test not only the humans' abilities, but their very understanding of what it meant to be perfect. The next steps were uncertain, but one thing was clear. The humans were about to face their greatest challenge yet, and the entire galaxy would be watching. The Jalar had arrived on Earth, and the entire planet was buzzing with anticipation. People from all around the world stared up at the sleek silver ship that hovered above their cities. The spacecraft was unlike anything humans had ever seen. Its shape both elegant and intimidating. It glowed with a soft light as it slowly descended, casting a shadow over the landscape. For the first time in human history, Earth was not just a part of the galaxy. It was about to play a crucial role in its future. Captain Mia Harris, a leader in Earth's diplomatic efforts, was chosen to represent humanity in this monumental meeting. She stood on the rooftop of the United Nations building, looking up at the ship. Mia was nervous but proud. She had spent years preparing for this moment, learning about alien cultures and studying the history of the Galactic Union. Never in her wildest dreams had she imagined she would be part of such an important event. The Jalur, led by their commander Viex, stepped off their ship. They were tall, their skin an iridescent shade of blue, and their eyes glowed with a soft golden light. The humans had never seen such beings before. The air was filled with tension, but also a sense of awe. There was no denying the power that the Jalur carried with them. The atmosphere was thick with curiosity, both from the humans and the aliens. Mia and her team walked toward the Jalur delegation, trying to keep their composure. As they approached, V looked at them with his glowing eyes, and his voice rang out, calm but authoritative. "We have come to learn about you, humans. The census results have shown that your species is unlike any other. We wish to understand what makes you perfect," V said, his tone measured and serious. Mia took a deep breath and stepped forward. "We're not perfect," she said, softly, but her words carried a quiet confidence. "We've had our share of mistakes, wars, and struggles, but we are adaptable. We learn from those mistakes. That's what makes us who we are." V studied her for a moment, his golden eyes scanning her face. He was not sure what to make of her words. Humans had always been a mystery to him. For centuries, the Jala had believed that their ancient wisdom and power were unmatched in the galaxy. But the census results had shown otherwise. The first step in understanding humanity was simple: observation. V had brought with him a team of scientists and diplomats, would spend the next few weeks studying the humans in every way possible. They would analyze their biology, their history, and their technology. But more importantly, they would observe their behaviors, how humans interacted with each other, how they responded to stress, and how they handled conflict. Mia knew that this was only the beginning. The Jala were not here just to visit, they were here to judge. The pressure was enormous. Humanity's entire future could rest on the next few weeks. The Jala scientists began their study right away. They took samples of human DNA, recorded data about human emotions, and analyzed human history in ways that no human had ever done before. Meanwhile, the diplomats worked to build a bridge between Earth and the Galactic Union. They needed to establish trust, to show that humanity was capable of handling the responsibility of being a key partner in the galaxy. Despite the diplomatic efforts, the Jalares' presence was unsettling. Some humans were thrilled at the chance to meet such powerful beings, while others were fearful. They wondered what the Jalur wanted from them. Would they ask for something in return for their alliance? Or would they take control of Earth, demanding that humanity serve them? Captain Mia Harris felt the weight of her position more than anyone. She spent hours meeting with the Zollar, discussing everything from humanity's history to its potential role in the galaxy. The more she learned about the Zollar, the more she realized how little she understood about them. They were so different from humans, so ancient and powerful, that it was hard to imagine them as allies. And yet the data suggested that the Zollar were not here to conquer Earth, but to form an alliance. One evening, as Mia walked through the streets of New York City, she met with a few of her closest advisors. They discussed the ongoing analysis of the Zollar's intentions. "We've learned a lot about them," Mia said, her voice low. "But we still don't know why they chose us. There has to be something more to this." Her advisor, Commander Alan Wright, nodded. "I agree. We've been told we're the perfect match, but what does that really mean? What are we being asked to do?" The answer, Mia thought, lay in the Zollar's true motivations. There had to be more to this match than just biology or intelligence. It was about something deeper, something that had yet to be understood. Mia had always believed that humans were strong, not because of their superiority, but because of their ability to adapt, to change, and to build connections. Perhaps this was what the Zollar saw in them. Despite the challenges, humanity had always found a way to survive. They had faced war, disease, and hardship, but they had not been defeated. Instead, they had learned, grown, and rebuilt. Maybe this was the quality that the Zollar were looking for, something no other species could offer. But even with all the data and all the observations, Mia knew that understanding humans would take time. The Zollar had to see it for themselves. Perhaps in time they would understand what made humanity perfect, not because of any one trait, but because of the sum of all their qualities. As the weeks passed, the Zollar continued their study, and Mia's doubts slowly began to fade. She began to see the potential for a new chapter in human history, a chapter in which humanity would no longer be seen as a young, chaotic species, but as a key player in the vast galaxy. The Zollar had come looking for perfection. What they would find, Mia realized, was something far more valuable, an imperfect species with endless potential. The days following the Zollar's arrival on Earth were filled with intense study and observation. Captain Mia Harris, along with her team of human diplomats, worked tirelessly to build a relationship with the alien species. Were unlike anything humanity had ever encountered. Their technology was far more advanced, and their knowledge seemed endless. But Mia and her team had one goal in mind: to prove that humanity had what it took to be the perfect match for the Zollar. The Zollar were patient. They didn't rush to judge humanity based on their initial observations. Instead, they devised a series of tests that would challenge humanity's strengths and weaknesses. The trials were not just physical. They would test human resilience, adaptability, intelligence, and emotional depth. The Zollar believed that only by experiencing these challenges could they truly understand what made humans perfect. Mia had a difficult job ahead of her. The trials would be difficult, and they would push humanity to its limits. The Zollar had made it clear that they weren't interested in superficial displays of strength. They wanted to see how humans would handle adversity, how they would react under pressure, and how they would work together as a species. The first test was designed to push the physical limits of human endurance. A group of selected humans, including Captain Harris, were transported to a remote location on an alien planet, a harsh, unforgiving environment. The planet was covered in rocky mountains, violent storms, and intense heat. The Zollar wanted to see how humans would survive in such extreme conditions. At first, the humans struggled. The environment was harsh, and the physical challenges were overwhelming. Many were tempted to give up. The conditions were unlike anything they had experienced on Earth, but Mia, ever determined, refused to quit. She rallied her team, reminding them that this was their chance to prove themselves. They worked together, using their creativity and resourcefulness to survive. They found shelter from the storms, created tools to gather food and water, and supported one another through the toughest moments. The Zollar watched from a distance, observing the humans' every move. They were impressed by the humans' ability to adapt. While other species might have panicked or failed, the humans had shown an unexpected strength. They had managed to not only survive, but also thrive in a harsh environment. The Jaller began to see that this was what made humans unique. Their resilience was unlike any other species. After the physical test, the humans were brought back to a more familiar environment. The next challenge was designed to test their intellect and problem-solving abilities. The Jaller presented a complex puzzle one that required both logic and creativity to solve. The puzzle was made up of ancient alien symbols, and the humans had to decode them in order to uncover a hidden message. This was no simple task. The symbols were unlike any language the humans had encountered. But Mia and her team didn't back down. They worked together, combining their knowledge of different fields to crack the code. One by one, they discovered the meanings behind the symbols. It was a long and difficult process, but in the end, they succeeded. The Jaller were again impressed. The humans had shown not just intelligence, but the ability to think outside the box. They had the creativity to find solutions when others might have given up. The Jaller had expected the humans to struggle with the puzzle, but instead they had solved it faster than any of the other species they had tested. The final test was the most challenging of all. It was not a test of physical strength or intelligence, but of emotional endurance. The Jaller wanted to see how humans would react when faced with a situation that could break their spirits. They placed Mia and her team in a virtual reality simulation, where they were forced to confront their greatest fears. The simulation was set in a world where everything Mia and her team loved was taken from them. Their families were gone. Their homes were destroyed. Their world was crumbling around them. Jaller wanted to see how the humans would respond to such devastation. Would they crumble under the pressure, or would they rise above it? First, the humans were overwhelmed. The loss they felt was real, and it shook them to their core. Mia herself struggled to keep her composure. She felt the weight of her failure. She couldn't protect her team. She couldn't save her world. For a moment she doubted herself, but then something incredible happened. Instead of giving in to despair, Mia and her team began to fight back. They found a way to escape the simulation, using the lessons they had learned from the previous tests. They didn't give up. They didn't let the challenges break them. They relied on each other, supporting one another through the pain and fear. Together, they overcame the emotional test. When they emerged from the simulation, the Jaller were waiting for them. The aliens could see the tears in the humans' eyes, the exhaustion on their faces, but they also saw something else: strength. Despite everything they had faced, the humans had remained unbroken. They had endured, and they had come out stronger for it. V, the leader of the Jaller, spoke to Mia and her team. You have passed the trials. You have proven that humanity is more than capable of handling the challenges we face together. We were wrong to doubt you. You are not just a species to be studied. You are a species to be admired. Mia was exhausted, but she felt a sense of pride swelling in her chest. The humans had done it. They had proven their worth. They had shown the galaxy that despite their imperfections, they were capable of greatness. And in doing so, they had taken the first step toward a new future, one where humanity would no longer be just a small, insignificant species, but a key player in the galaxy. After the intense tests of endurance, intellect, and emotional resilience, the humans were now prepared for the final trial, the trial of strength. The Jaller had made it clear that this test would be different. It would push the humans to their physical limits, but it would also test their courage, teamwork, and determination. This time, it was not just about surviving an alien environment or solving a puzzle. It was about proving that humanity had the strength to face the most dangerous challenges the galaxy could offer. Captain Mia Harris and her team were taken to a barren planet far from the comfort of Earth. The surface was harsh, covered in jagged rocks, deep ravines, and endless stretches of uninhabitable terrain. The air was thin, and the sky was a dull orange, casting an eerie glow over everything. The planet was surrounded by violent storms, with winds strong enough to tear apart anything in their path. The heat was unbearable during the day. The cold was freezing at night. The Jaller had designed the trial to test everything the humans had learned so far. It was not just about brute strength. It was about how they could adapt, work together, and remain calm under pressure. Mia looked out over the desolate landscape, her mind racing. She had faced many challenges in her life, but nothing like this. The team had been through so much already, and they were all exhausted, both physically and emotionally. Yet, she knew this was their chance to prove their worth. She turned to her team, all of them ready for whatever lay ahead. "All right, everyone," Mia said, her voice steady. "We've faced worse before. Together we can handle anything. We just need to keep moving forward, no matter what." The team nodded, determination in their eyes. They had come this far. They couldn't stop now. The trial began as soon as the Lar activated a set of large machines scattered across the landscape. These machines were designed to create obstacles and dangers, forcing the humans to navigate their way through. A series of challenges. As the first obstacle appeared, a giant wall of rock blocking their path, Mia immediately took charge. "We need to climb this," Mia said. "Can't go around it. Let's work together and find a way up." The team quickly got to work. Some of them used climbing tools, while others found makeshift ladders from the materials they had carried with them. The rock wall was steep and the wind was brutal, but they didn't stop. They climbed one step at a time, helping each other. Over the most difficult sections, when one person struggled, the others were there to lend a hand. The team's strength didn't lie in their individual abilities, but in their willingness to work together. The Jalar watched from a distance, observing the humans as they tackled the wall. They were impressed. Most species would have panicked in such a harsh environment, but the humans showed no fear. They were relentless, determined to succeed no matter how impossible the task seemed. Once they reached the top, they were faced with the next challenge, a narrow ravine filled with sharp, jagged rocks and a rushing river of acid-like liquid. At the bottom, the path across the ravine was narrow, and the wind howled through the canyon, threatening to send them tumbling to the ground below. The team paused, calculating their options. This was a dangerous obstacle. One mistake could be fatal. But Mia knew they had to keep moving. "Use the ropes," Mia said, pointing to the climbing gear they had brought with them. "We can tie ourselves together and make sure no one falls." Team worked quickly, tying the ropes securely around their waists. They carefully crossed the ravine, inching their way across the narrow path, with each step a test of balance and bravery. The wind gusted harder, pushing them toward the edge, but they held firm. They didn't stop until every person was safely across. When they reached the other side, the Jalar leader, VYX, appeared on a nearby cliff. He observed the humans in silence, his golden eyes flicking over each one. His face remained expressionless, but there was something in his gaze's sense of respect that hadn't been there before. "You have proven your strength," he said, his voice deep and resonant. "You have faced obstacles that would have broken other species, but you are still standing. You've shown the determination that makes you unique." Mia felt a surge of pride. They had made it through the trial's first few stages, but she knew they were far from finished. The hardest part was yet to come. The final test came in the form of a massive storm. The Jalar had triggered a series of violent weather patterns that swept across the planet. The winds howled, the ground trembled, and the sky turned black with swirling clouds. The team had to find shelter quickly, or they risked being swept away. As the storm raged around them, the team raced to find a safe place. They had no choice but to move through the harsh winds. Using their survival skills to navigate through the debris that had been scattered by the storm, they found shelter in a cave, huddling together for warmth and safety. They used their remaining supplies to create a fire and keep their spirits high. It was in the midst of this chaos that Mia realized what the trial had really been about. It wasn't about how strong they were individually, it was about how they worked as a team, how they supported each other through every challenge. In the face of danger, they hadn't given up. They had stayed strong, kept moving forward, helped each other every step of the way. When the storm finally passed, the Jalar came to check on them. They found the humans safe, exhausted but alive. V stepped forward, his expression unreadable. "You have survived the trial of strength," he said. "You have proven that humans are capable of facing any challenge. But this trial was not just about strength. It was about heart. You have shown more heart than we ever expected. Mia smiled, relieved and proud. The humans had passed the test. They had shown the galaxy that despite their imperfections, they were strong, not just physically, but in spirit. And now, the Jaller knew the truth. Humanity was not only capable of surviving, they were capable of thriving no matter what the universe threw at them. After passing the trial of strength, Captain Mia Harris and her team were exhausted, but proud. The Jaller had been impressed by their resilience, their ability to face every obstacle, and their unwavering determination. But Mia knew that this was only the beginning. Despite all they had achieved, they were still unsure of the Jaller's true intentions. Why had the Jaller chosen humanity? What was it about humans that made them the perfect match for such an ancient and powerful species? The answer, Mia believed, lay in something deeper than physical strength or intellect. There was something about humanity's spirit, their ability to adapt and grow stronger in the face of adversity that the Jaller had seen. But what was the true purpose behind their visit? Was it truly just about finding a match for their leader? Or was there more to the story? Mia decided to investigate further. Late one night, while the Jaller diplomats and scientists were asleep, she sneaked into the data archives the Jaller had brought with them. She knew the risks sneaking around a powerful alien species was dangerous, but something told her this was important. There was a chance she could find the answers to the questions that had been nagging her for days. She sifted through the data, looking for anything that might explain why humans were considered the perfect match. It wasn't long before she found something. Among the many files and reports, Mia discovered an ancient prophecy hidden deep within the Jaller archives. The prophecy spoke of a time when a species would rise, one capable of uniting the fractured civilizations of the galaxy. A species that would bring balance and peace, even in the face of chaos. The prophecy was clear. It mentioned a species from a distant world, a species that had faced hardship, war, and division, but had always found a way to survive. It spoke of a race that would unlock hidden potential and solve problems that no other species could. Mia's heart raced as she realized what she was reading. The prophecy was about humans. The Jaller had known this for a long time, and it was one of the main reasons they had been searching for humanity. The humans weren't just a perfect match for their leader, they were the key to unlocking peace across the galaxy. The Jaller had been searching for a species with the potential to change the entire universe. The realization hit Mia like a wave. She couldn't believe what she was reading. The Jaller had not just come to Earth to find a match for their leader. They had come because they believed humanity was the answer to the galaxy's deepest problems. But that didn't make sense. Humanity was still a young species, full of flaws. They weren't perfect, and they had their own struggles. Why would the galaxy turn to them for peace? Mia didn't have time to dwell on the questions. She knew she had to tell the others what she had discovered. She quickly copied the information and left the archive, making her way back to her team's quarters. She couldn't risk the Jaller finding out she had been snooping around, but the truth was too important to keep hidden. She had to share what she had learned. The next morning, she gathered her team. They sat in a small conference room, the weight of the information heavy in the air. "I found something," Mia said, her voice low. "It's about the Jaller and why they came here." Her team looked at her, eager to hear what she had uncovered. Mia took a deep breath before continuing. "The Jaller had been searching for us because of an ancient prophecy. They believe that humanity is the key to bringing peace to the galaxy. The prophecy says that a species will rise, one that has faced hardship and survived. A species that has the potential to bring balance, to unite the galaxy's fractured civilizations." Her team was silent for a moment, absorbing the weight of her words. "So, they didn't just come to find a match for their leader?" Commander Alan Wright asked, his voice full of disbelief. "No," Mia replied. "They believe we can change the galaxy. They think we have something that no other species has. The question is, are we ready for that responsibility?" Her team exchanged looks of concern. They had never expected such a monumental task, but Mia knew they had no choice. If the Joler truly believed in this prophecy, then humanity's fate was tied to something far greater than themselves. They had to rise to the challenge, no matter how daunting it seemed. As the days passed, humans continued to work closely with the Joler, but now there was a sense of unease in the air. The team knew that their actions would have far-reaching consequences. They were no longer just participants in an experiment or a trial. They were part of something much larger, something that could shape the future of the entire galaxy. One evening, as Mia sat with her team, the Joler leader, V, approached them. He stood tall, his eyes glowing softly in the dim light of the room. There was a seriousness in his gaze, and Mia could tell that the time for questions was drawing to a close. "We have seen your strength," V said, his voice calm but firm. "You have proven yourselves worthy of our alliance. But now, the galaxy is waiting. We must make our choice. Are you ready to fulfill your destiny?" Mia stood up, her heart pounding in her chest. She had come to Earth believing that humanity was just a small, insignificant species. But now, she knew the truth. They were more than that. They had the potential to change everything. "We're ready," Mia said, her voice steady. "We'll face whatever comes next together." V nodded, his expression unreadable. "Then the path forward is clear. Humanity's future is now linked with ours. The galaxy is watching." As Mia and her team stood side by side, they realized the gravity of their situation. They were no longer just humans from Earth. They were the key to the galaxy's future. They had been tested, they had proven their worth, and now it was time to embrace their destiny. The challenge ahead would be unlike anything they had ever faced, but they were ready. Together they would shape the future. The weight of humanity's destiny hung heavily over Captain Mia Harris and her team. The discovery of the ancient prophecy had changed everything. It's no longer just participants in a trial. The humans now found themselves at the heart of the galaxy's future. The Joler had chosen them, not just because of their strength or intelligence, but because of their potential to bring balance and unity to a fractured galaxy. Mia stood on the bridge of the Joler ship, staring out at the stars. The galaxy was vast, filled with countless species, each with its own culture, history, and struggles. It was a place of beauty, but also of division and conflict. For years, the Joler had tried to bring peace, but their efforts had only resulted in temporary alliances that often broke down. Now, they had turned to humanity. Believing that the humans could be the key to solving the galaxy's greatest problems, the Joler had spent weeks preparing for the next phase of their plan. They had made contact with several powerful species across the galaxy, and now, the time had come to present humanity as the bridge between them all. The message was clear. The galaxy needed a unifying force, and the Joler believed that humans could provide it. But there was a problem. Not all species in the galaxy were willing to accept humanity as the solution. Many of the older civilizations, including the leaders of the Galactic Council, were skeptical. They saw humans as a young, untested species, too unpredictable and too inexperienced to be trusted with the fate of the galaxy. For these species, the idea of humans leading was not just a challenge, it was a threat to their power. Mia and her team knew that they couldn't allow these doubts to stand in the way of humanity's future. They had to prove that humanity was ready to take on this responsibility. They couldn't afford to wait any longer. The first test came when the Joler called for a meeting with the leaders of the Galactic Council. The Council, made up of the most powerful species in the galaxy, was the governing body that made decisions about the future of the galaxy. Mia, along with several human diplomats, was invited to attend the meeting. The Joler hoped that by including humanity in this high-level meeting, they could show the Council that humanity was more than capable of handling the responsibility. But when the meeting began, it was clear that the Council had little interest in listening. The leaders of the more established species scoffed at the idea of humans playing a major role in galactic affairs. They questioned the Joler's judgment and dismissed the humans as naive and inexperienced. Mia could feel the tension in the room as the debate grew more heated. She knew that if the humans were going to have any chance of changing the minds of the Council, they would need to do something drastic. "I understand your concerns," Mia said, standing up. Her voice was calm but firm. "But let me tell..." This humanity is a species that has faced adversity and hardship at every turn. We have fought wars, rebuilt from destruction, and we have learned from every mistake. We may be young, but we are not weak. We have the potential to lead because we have learned to adapt and grow. The room fell silent. The other species were shocked by Mia's boldness. They had expected the humans to cower in the face of their criticism, but instead Mia had stood tall and spoken with conviction. She had proven that humanity was not afraid to stand up for itself, even in the face of overwhelming doubt. Mia continued, "We may not have the centuries of experience that some of you have, but we have something you don't. We have heart. We have the ability to bring people together, to find common ground even when it seems impossible. That is why we are the perfect match for the Jallarand. That is why we can bring peace to the galaxy." For a moment, there was nothing but silence. The council members exchanged uneasy glances. Then, one by one, they began to speak. The leaders of the larger, more powerful species still disagreed with the idea of humans taking charge, but there was a shift in their tone. They began to acknowledge that humanity's potential was real. They began to see the humans not as a threat, but as an ally. The debate continued for hours, but by the end of the meeting, something had changed. The Galactic Council had agreed to support humanity's involvement in the peace process. They were not ready to hand over the reins completely, but they had made a decision. Humanity would be given a chance to lead. Mia left the meeting exhausted but hopeful. The road ahead would be long, and there were many more challenges to face. But for the first time, humanity had been recognized as a force to be reckoned with. Had proven themselves worthy of a place at the table in the days that followed. The Jolar and the humans worked together to form alliances with other species, building a coalition that would work toward galactic peace. Mia and her team traveled across the galaxy, meeting with leaders from every corner of the universe. They encountered species that were hesitant to trust, but through patience, diplomacy, and understanding, humanity slowly began to change the hearts and minds of those who had once doubted them. The galaxy was beginning to shift. Old prejudices were starting to break down, and new alliances were forming. Humanity was no longer seen as a young, inexperienced species. It was seen as a beacon of hope. The humans had shown that despite their flaws, they had the ability to lead with compassion, strength, and wisdom. Mia stood once again on the bridge of the Jallar ship, looking out at the stars. The future of the galaxy was still uncertain, but for the first time, humanity was in control of its destiny. It was up to them to lead the way, to bring unity to a galaxy torn apart by division. And with every step, they proved that no matter how imperfect they were, humans had the heart and the strength to change the galaxy forever.